Welcome to the Rich Report, a podcast with news and information on high-performance computing. Today, my guest is from ScaleMP. We have the founder and CEO, Shai Fultheim. Shai, hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, Rich. Good to speak with you again.
Well, I appreciate you joining me. I know it's late there, but I know you guys have an announcement here about supporting AMD, and I was hoping you could tell us more about that.
Sure. So let's start. Just pull up my presentation sent you, and let's just jump directly to slide number 2. So just as a quick refresher, we at ScaleMP offer virtual machines for high-performance computing customers, allowing them to take multiple off-the-shelf servers and make that a single virtual machine, single machine to use. Now, that's target two types of customers. If you see on this slide going from left to right, cluster customers that buy a bunch of machines and just want to manage that as a single system, because managing multiple machines with all these penguins around is a little bit difficult. You need to have operating system per machine and a cluster file system, and then you need to have some provisioning system and change management and so on. So taking a cluster and managing it from single point of management with one system, that's basically what these customers are looking for. On the other side, customers that want to have one big machine. And these customers that want to have one big machine wants to get that at cluster pricing. So that's what vSMP Foundation allowed me to do. If we go to the next slide, a little bit about the company, spoke quite a bit of time. So we started in 2003, and we allow customers to create these virtual shared memory systems with connecting up to 128 systems, creating virtual machines with 10,000 cores and 64 terabytes of memory. We sell solely for channel modem, and HP, Dell, and IBM, and quite a bit of other regional resellers are our main partners. We have about 300 deployments. And if you hit the next button, go to slide number 4, about 300 customers all around the world, significant install base in Japan and China, a very nice install base in Europe, significant growth we see there, and of course in North America. Talking about customers, few names, you must identify a few here on slide number 5. Starting from top right, customers in energy market, in EDA, in the financial space, in automotive, in defense, the defense industry, manufacturing, government sector, a very, very strong install base in life sciences, in pharma, bioinformatics, and of course in higher ed and research. About 40% of our customers are in higher ed and research. Still, about 60% of the customers are commercial customers or government customers. And of course, over the years, we created a strong ecosystem of partners that allow us to create this very unique product and go to market. And today we'll speak quite a bit about AMD. They're in the center of this partner ecosystem list. But a second before we get into the AMD announcement, let's talk a little bit more from talking about the customers. Let's go and speak for a second about solutions. So if you hit the next button, go to slide number 6. I'll describe here our 3 solutions. We call them pillars, okay? So starting from left to right here, on the first pillar, we are targeting customers that are looking to have a single operating system. The main pain point of these customers is that running clusters is complicated. While we want to have distributed infrastructure to reduce the cost of the components needed to run our software to solve our solutions, our problems, what we're looking to do is to reduce the overhead involved in running these clusters. So with having single operating system across multiple systems, we save on CapEx, we save on management, we save on storage. With a single machine instead of multiple, you do not need to have a cluster file system. You do not need to have a provisioning system. And in some cases, you don't even need to have a job scheduler. Okay. In the middle pillar, we're approaching customers that are looking for very large machines. They have workloads, multi-threaded workloads that need many, many CPUs. Sometimes these customers that have workloads that need lots of memory, can be customers that need 4 terabytes of memory or 10 terabytes of memory. And buying a machine with 10 terabytes of memory, if you can ever get one, it's pretty damn expensive. Moreover, these machines imply a very strong vendor locking. If you go and buy a proprietary SGI system, that's it, you're locked with SGI. With vSMP Foundation, you can buy a machine from HP, from IBM, from Dell, from Fujitsu, from Supermicro, and you really have the choice because it's all about choice. So we allow these customers to significantly save on CapEx. On the right-hand side, and that's a growing a scenario that we see in the market, we have a very, very nice solution for this type of customers. These are customers that buy very large clusters. And these very large clusters, they have hundreds of nodes. So think about yourself, you're going out and you're buying your next generation 300 to 600 node cluster, and they're all kind of these super high density clusters, and they have excellent power consumption, and they are packed into the racks. And that's nice and dandy, up to the point that one of the end users are calling and asking to run a workload that needs 2 terabytes of memory. Or someone else is calling you and asking to run a workload, OpenMP workloads that need 128 threads, or to run some kind of a Gaussian workload that can go up the way to 64 cores, and you just don't have enough cores in the boxes that you bought because you bought the most cost-efficient dual-socket machines. So for these customers, we allow them to ad hoc, on an on-demand basis, create shared memory machines on top of their grid or large cluster cloud infrastructure, and using the typical provisioning systems that are used in this environment like ROX, Moab, Bright Cluster Manager, IBM XCAT, and others, we allow them to go and on an on-demand basis go and create virtual machines to run these workloads on an ad hoc basis. And then when they are done, take the node, bring them back to the pool, and go and do something else with them. So these are free customers. So how we take that, how that goes together with this AMD announcement that I mentioned before. So if you go to the next slide, first, what we're announcing is the ability of vSMP Foundation to work on top of AMD machines. So why is that important? As I mentioned earlier, vSMP Foundation was always about choice. It gives customers a real choice. You don't have to go and buy the only solution from the one vendor that allow you to get a machine with 256 cores. With vSMP Foundation, you can get that from Dell, from HP, and from IBM, and it allows you to choose different type of InfiniBand, whether it's Mellanox or maybe it's QLogic. And it allows you to buy building blocks that are dual socket or maybe 4 sockets. And you can use rack mounted systems, or you can use blades, or maybe you can use high density. And now you can select if your machines will be based on Intel or based on AMD processors. That allows customers will create virtual machines that goes all the way up to 8,000 cores and 64 terabytes of memory, which is, I believe, pretty amazing if you take into account the industry game-changing phenomena that's going on here with these upcoming AMD servers. So these upcoming AMD servers will be able to pack 64 cores and 512 gigabytes of memory into 1U or 2U server. And that allows customers that to create virtual machines, within a one rack. You will be able to go all the way to 20 terabytes memory within a rack, and to hundreds and thousands of cores within one rack with vSMP Foundation. It will be available for the current generation of AMD machines, the Magni cores, as well as the upcoming Interlagos processors. And it will be available to customers really soon, October 1st. So I packed into here some performance numbers. So if you hit the next button and go to the next slide, starting with the memory bandwidth. So memory bandwidth is an important aspect to quite a bit of applications. What you see here is the performance of AMD Magni cores based system. So that's a dual socket system. And what we see here is the performance of the system starting from 1 socket to 2 sockets, and then continue to scale using the stream OMT benchmark, which is a benchmark that runs on a single system. It's using the OpenMP programming model, which is running only in shared memory environment. And again, we run it here on 1 socket, 2 socket, 4 socket, 8 socket, 12 sockets using 6 machines. and the application scales smoothly, and you can see that the performance bandwidth is scaling pretty linearly, and that's pretty amazing. On the next slide, I brought some performance numbers that relates to I/O. This is not well known, but quite a bit of our customers buy vSMP Foundation just for improving their I/O performance. So scratch I/O performance is very important for a significant number of applications. And there are multiple solutions. It's very common to see today customers buying SSD-based storage or PCI Express flash-based cards in order to get a fast I/O in order not to store the CPUs for processing. With vSMP Foundation, you can do the same for a quarter of the price. And the way you do that here on this slide is an example. Customers that have true customers that have here 8 nodes, and each one of these nodes, there is one storage controller. And this storage controller is connected to quite a bit of drives to allow about 700 megabyte per second of raw I/O performance from a controller. And when we scale that all the way to 8, what we see here is that the performance goes all the way up to 7.5 gigabyte per second of sustained I/O. And if you check that compared to the best PCI Express flash-based storage, that costs 4 times more than the cost of this solution, you are seeing here 20% better performance. So 20% better performance for a quarter of the price. That's a pretty good deal. If you look on the horizontal line here, the horizontal line shows the efficiency. So we see that the efficiency is kept to be at the 80 to 90% or the low 70s to mid 90s % efficiency when you scale across 8 storage controllers, and that's pretty nice. Next slide is talking about the application, so showing some real-life application again here with the performance reported by one of our customers, RWTH Aachen University in Germany. What they compared here, they took a real-life application and they ran it on the latest and greatest SGI Altix UV machine, the ultraviolet machine, and they compared that to vSMP Foundation running on some platforms they have there. It's again not the latest and greatest machines on the ScaleMP's end. And you see here ScaleMP solution vSMP Foundation running on Hopper-Town processors and the Helen processors, which is the previous generation Intel processors and the previous one, and the SGI Altix UV and Enemy X processors. And you know what, Rich? This slide is a little bit complicated, so just focus on the numbers that are written out above the 128 core result on the rightmost side of the slide. What you see here, short and sweet, SGI Altix UV running this application in 7,500 seconds. vSMP Foundation on a previous generation Intel platforms running the same application, 128 cores. OpenMP application, 6,600 seconds. So you get a significant performance improvement, and you pay only half the price. So I think it's a pretty good deal, isn't it? So that's it. You got kind of a quick update about ScaleMP. You heard about the AMD product, and you saw some performance numbers. So what else I can do for you today?
Okay. Well, a couple questions, Shai. I guess I'm curious, you've been out there with this solution for a while for x86. Was the release of Bulldozer architecture, the Interlagos, was that a gating factor for you to come over and start supporting AMD?
In fact, yes. So I would say that up to 9 months ago, we never heard from our customers about the demand for AMD platforms. Started the beginning of the year, more and more customers started to approach us and talk to us about running ScaleMP on mining core processors. Really as a step towards running ScaleMP on Interlagos. Running vSMP Foundation on Interlagos, again, gives some amazing price performance benefits compared to the traditional shared memory system. So we approached AMD, and in fact, we approached AMD, and AMD approached ScaleMP, and we sat together around the table, and we looked at that from business perspective, and we got to the conclusion that there is something really interesting here. And we jumped into it. It's not a surprise that our product will be available in October 1st, which I believe will be within weeks of the announcement of the Interlagos processor.
Sure. sure. And then on one of your earlier slides, you showed you have over 300 customers. I remember doing a story not too long ago where you were talking about having 200 customers. That seems like great growth in a very short time.
Um, True, and I'm pretty happy about it. In fact, since the beginning of the year, we grew the install base by 50%, going from about 200 customers to the 300 customers range, and that's pretty amazing. The demand in the market is very strong. Our partners, Dell, HP, IBM, Supermicro, Fujitsu, that announced publicly today, it's a partnership with ScaleMP, are doing amazing work on that. And I'll tell you, one of the interesting aspects is that you see customers that up to not long ago, maybe a year back or 2 years back, when we spoke with them about software-based shared memory machines, um, they looked at that and said that's never going to happen. And you see these customers coming back now and starting adopting technology, and that's really great. I'll throw one number on you with regard to one aspect of success. ScaleMP is growing 100% quarter over quarter. I'm pretty happy with it, and I hope we'll continue to see the growth coming in the next few quarters, at least at that rate.
Sure. And then what kind of percentage do you see of repeat customers, people that have tried this out and continue to buy?
Excellent question. So we segment repeat customers to two. First, there are quite a bit of customers that approach ScaleMP and buying vSMP Foundation just to try it. You know, software-based technology, they're working on some kind of proprietary technology, maybe from SGI, and it's too good to be true, you know, that's too good to be true, I want to test it type of scenario. So they buy a software like for 4 nodes or 8 nodes. Let's make a shared memory machine with 8 sockets or 16 sockets, $10,000 a piece of software running on your 4 to 8 socket machine environment. And they're trying it and they see, wow, it works very well, and we see them coming back and buying software. So that's one type of customer. The other type of customers are customers that going full-fledged, buying the software, and they come the year after or the year after that, coming back and renewing licenses. Again, we are selling software since 2006, so we have quite a bit of customers that need to renew their support and need to renew their maintenance for the software. So if I'm combining these two together, and that's again the proof point that customers are happy with it, because otherwise they would not grow their infrastructure or would not renew their maintenance, we are at the steady state 30% repeat customers every quarter, and that's very good. That's another aspect that contributes to the excellent growth that we have in the last few quarters. When you add the install base with the 30% repeat customers every quarter, that gives you some kind of a boost to ramp up the numbers.
Yeah. And then looking at the broader industry, Shai, you know, we see virtualization out in the enterprise is just growing phenomenally, right? I mean, a show like VMworld has over 20,000 people come to it, twice the size of supercomputing, right? Do you,
Wow.
do you foresee that kind of revolution coming to HPC?
I would tell you, this is from my perspective, is a little bit of a mystery. You know, HPC as a market, as an industry, was always the first to adopt the latest, the newest, maybe the coolest technologies, right?
Yeah.
But when you look on virtualization, it's kind of on the other side. And it's really the other side of the fence, where when you speak with typical HPC customers, they're looking on that and say, oh, maybe it will slow me down. I'm not sure how it's going to help me. But if you look on the core, on the roots, okay, of the demand for our products, you see that it's very, very similar to enterprise. Let's just look about it for a second. Why people use virtualization in enterprise, right? To do server consolidation. What is server consolidation? Instead of having 20 machines that run as Oracle, I'm going to consolidate and run that on one. Isn't that the same like I'm running my typical Fluent workload on 20 machines, and I have a significant pain in managing these 20 machines and doing software upgrades and security patches and managing the distributed storage? Consolidating that into one gives me a real benefit. When I'm consolidating that into one, I need one connection to storage instead of 20 connections to storage. I do not need a cluster file system. And when you go to the enterprise, the same. one machine instead of 20 means one fiber channel connection to your centralized storage. That's great. The other side, if you go back to the enterprise, is that I can take 20 machines and consolidate them into one. And when I'm consolidating 20 systems into one, I have less, okay, hardware. Less hardware means reduced capex. And again, going into virtual SMP, creating large-scale shared memory machines from off-the-shelf components, what you get is significant cost saving, and staying away from proprietary hardware give you a real choice. So I do see a very strong correlation between the value proposition of virtualization in enterprise and the value proposition of virtualization in HPC. And I think that we start seeing this momentum where HPC on a step-by-step basis started to adapt that. Calling it back to one of your previous questions, we can see that maybe in the growth of ScaleMP and ScaleMP install base, again, we mentioned since the beginning of the year, 50% growth in number of customers.
So I guess a wrap-up question here, Shai. If somebody's out there and they're interested, how does someone engage with ScaleMP?
Oh, excellent question. That's thanks for pointing that out. So we are selling solely from the channel. So we will be very happy to answer any questions. So just send us an email at sales@scalemp.com or go to our website. There's a place to fill your information. But the channel, HP, IBM, Dell, and so do our regional resellers, and we have about 20 of them from Japan and Singapore all the way down to Brazil, are doing excellent work in promoting the product to the right customers. We can get to the typical large-scale customers through the regular, the traditional sales model through HP, IBM, and Dell. They have the contracts, they know how to sell it, they know how to install it, they know how to service it. So you get a single point of contact for vSMP Foundation solution. And for the customers that need the hand-holding of the original VAR, we have, as I mentioned before, 20 of those around the world, and they're doing great job for these type of customers that looking to have a value-add reseller, helping them with the ramp-up of this new technology.
Well, great. Well, Shai Fultheim, the CEO and founder of ScaleMP, congratulations on expanding your ecosystem here now to include AMD. And thanks for coming on the show today.
Oh, thank you.
You bet. All right, folks, that's it for the Rich Report. Stay tuned for more news and information on high-performance computing.